Hello, everyone. God, the news is so terribly typical today that dedicating a full episode to any one story would yield a very, very short video. So instead, I pulled a couple stories that I found interesting, and we're going to explore those. First up to bat is Governor Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, signing an executive order to ban the death penalty in California. NBC News reports NBC Los Angeles learned of Newsom's plan to use his executive authority to halt the use of the death penalty early Tuesday evening through law enforcement sources. A subsequent statement from the governor's office detailed the plan to halt the death penalty for all 737 people on California's death row, the nation's largest. The statement includes prepared remarks Newsom planned to deliver at a Wednesday morning news conference. Now, what is interesting is usually this kind of measure would be voted on in a general election, which makes the following tweet by Trump so very poignant. Defying voters, the governor of California will halt all death penalty executions of 737 stone-cold killers. Friends and families of the always forgotten victims are not thrilled, and neither am I. Out of sheer curiosity, I went investigating the crimes of some of the death row inmates in California, and this is what I found. One man, Ronaldo M. Ayala, he and his brother Hector have been found guilty of killing 3 men and wounding another in 1988 at an auto shop that was involved in heroin distribution. Albert G. Brown waylaid a 15-year-old girl as she walked to school, raped and strangled her to death, then made phone calls to police to give clues to where her body could be found. 3 years before, he raped a 14-year-old girl. And this one is also of note. Tequan A. Cox was a street gang member on parole when he and accomplices sought to carry out a contract killing. The killers went to the wrong address and executed NFL football player Kermit Alexander's mother, sister, and 2 nephews. On death row, Cox stabbed another condemned inmate, and he was part of a 2000 escape attempt. Alexander is one of the most prominent voices behind Proposition 66, which would speed the appeals process and allow faster executions. All that considered, some may be concerned about what happens to folks like Brown, like Cox, etc. Well, rest assured, because the NBC article continues by saying, his executive action will include a reprieve for all the state's death row inmates, a withdrawal of the state's lethal injection protocol, and immediate closure of the execution chamber at San Quentin State Prison, according to the statement. Newsom's office emphasized that the moratorium does not mean anyone will be released or have their sentences altered under this action. So hey, at least your tax dollars in the state of California will be used to keep these kinds of folks alive. Good choice, Governor Newsom. So this next one may require a bit of explanation. I will give a TLDR, but I will also link Philip DeFranco's expose on the topic down below. NXIVM co-founder Nancy Salzman pleads guilty in sex slave case. So for those of you who may not be aware, NXIVM was originally a self-help group formed in originality by Keith Raniere. According to an article written a year ago by the Rolling Stone, the Albany, New York-based NXIVM is, according to its website, a community guided by humanitarian principles that seek to empower people and answer important questions about what it means to be human. This was not the case, however, as one dug deeper. Considered a cult by some experts, NXIVM was thrown into the national spotlight last fall when the New York Times interviewed several women claiming to have been forcibly branded as part of their entry to a secret NXIVM sect called DOS. After that story broke, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn reportedly launched an investigation into NXIVM, and Raniere fled to Mexico with some female followers. That reportedly included Smallville actress Allison Mack, who was photographed at the scene of his arrest in Mexico. A criminal complaint that had come out at the time of the article's release gave some insight. According to the complaint, the women in the cult must remain sexually faithful to Raniere and are not permitted to discuss their relationships with him. The document also states that NXIVM's course teachings advocate that men must have, quote, multiple sexual partners, while women must be monogamous, and that DOS strives to help women overcome their inherent weakness and, quote, over-emotional natures. DOS's master-slave participants allegedly thought they were joining a women-only sorority, and Rainier's position at the top of the group was withheld. Per the complaint, NXIVM's secret society DOS is a pyramid-style organized criminal group with levels of slaves headed by masters. The document alleges that Rainier is the singular ruling master and sole male member of DOS, also reportedly known as the Vow. The society is rumored to have formed around 2015. DOS allegedly stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, which loosely translates to Lord Master of the Obedient Female Companion. So yeah, that should give you a brief understanding of what exactly it is we're dealing with here. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't hate the Keith guy enough, he is also alleged to have recruited underage girls for this group, as additional crimes to his docket. Well, the news comes today as Nancy Salzman pleads guilty. According to the very short article written by Huffington Post, these are all the details that they have. Nancy Salzman pleaded guilty to conspiracy during a hearing in federal court in Brooklyn on Wednesday. She's to be sentenced on July 10th. There was no immediate response from her lawyer. Salzman was a co-founder of NXIVM, a cult-like group based near Albany. Prosecutors say a secret society within the organization branded women with a spiritual leader's initials and forced them to have sex with him. The leader, Keith Rainier, is set to go on trial next month. Also charged in this case are Salzman's daughter, as well as Seagram liquor fortune heiress Claire Bronfman and TV actress Allison Mack. There's a slew of charges they could apply here to Nancy, but as Times Union reported, it's unclear whether Salzman has negotiated to cooperate with the Justice Department in exchange for leniency. The Times Union site did a much better job explaining the whole story, and I encourage you all to take a look at that one. So yeah, that's what we're looking at today. There are, of course, other news stories. Of course, there's the Boeing 737 MAX story, but there's no real substance there yet. The Tucker Carlson thing seems like the latest addition to a list of brigades by the Twitter mob. And then there was Manafort, but I hate to say it, a lot of the outrage reporting has really just desensitized me to stories like it. Almost like it's not novel or interesting anymore, so what really is the point? But maybe that's just me. But that's all for today. Let me know down below what you think of California or the Hollywood sex cult NXIVM, or even how outrage culture has affected you on how you look at news. But thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all soon.